Saturday football, first round of the wild card. Hit that thumbs up button. Welcome to Odd Shopper. This is your top parlay for Saturday football. We've got two games. I'm going to hit you with one quick same game parlay. Then I'm going to get you one that encompasses both games. But let's start with the first one because there's a fantastic angle here. It's 5-1-1 against the spread this year, but it's worked. It's worked not only with these two guys, but it's also in prior years worked with coaches who know each other. There's something called inside information. So our very first play, and it's going to be a two-step little quick same game parlay. Feel free to boost it if you like. It's going to be the LA Chargers on the money line. Then we're going to do something with the total. But first and foremost, understand something. Inside information means coaches on two teams are talking about another team. The LA Chargers are facing the Houston Texans. Do you remember what happened on Christmas Day when the Houston Texans were obliterated by Baltimore? Guess what? The head coach of Baltimore, the head coach of the Chargers, they talk on the phone, folks. This is work that's 5-1-1 against the spread, mutual opponents between the Harbaughs. And everything that John Harbaugh was able to extrapolate. CJ Stroud struggling without two of his weapons. As you know, there's issues on the offensive line. All real. This is how you get an edge. This is how you get, and I know there are people out there that say everything is baked into the line. Not this. At 2.5, 3, fine. Discord, we're on it at 2. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, the Harbaugh's talking, the issues with CJ Stroud, the interceptions, the fact that you can't trust. Granted, there's injuries on both sides, but the offensive line, way more with Houston. Our first play is going to be the Chargers on the money line, and we're going to push this total over 41.5 on an alt. If you have a boost, chances are you do. FanDuel, DraftKings, guess what? We've got a link below where if you sign up at any of those, and you'll get that boost, of course, you'll get a free month of tails. You can follow me, you can follow Linguist, you can follow Zay, you can follow DK, doesn't matter. You're going to get a free month. But the beauty of this ticket is we're taking advantage of this Chargers team who should come out firing. And yes, on defense, they're going to have an edge that Houston simply does not going up against. You could target Lad McConkey. You can look at some other things here. But as far as points are concerned, the Chargers are going to be far more difficult to slow down. You're going to get a couple of big plays. You're going to get a couple of scores in the first 20, 25 minutes of game time, 14, maybe 17 points for the Chargers before half. You're going to get at least one, if not two, CJ Stroud interceptions. Drives are going to stall, but you know what? At some point, Houston's going to be desperate. That's what I love about the playoffs and taking more overs in the playoffs, at least from an alt standpoint here, is things get desperate. So right away, plus 239 is your boosted parlay. All right. Now, you have to take advantage of this because there's only 2 more days for it. I'm going to give you this larger parlay. All right. It's this beautiful same game parlay plus. We're going to bank on the Chargers. Then we'll get into this Ravens game here in a second. But I need to show you this because we're on fire when it comes to these tools. And the NFL is just about to finish. So what's next? Well, it's the NBA, right? I just hit, you can follow me on ShanderBets. It's all publicly tracked. I just hit 6 separate parlays last night using Portfolio EV, all publicly tracked on my Twitter account. Nathan Joyce, publicly tracking profit. Greg Ehrenberg, publicly tracking profit. You have any questions? Lofty has public videos out there on our site as well. But all of this, and you, we know, so jump in. Portfolio EV, there's a link below. $40.95. That's half off your first month with code EV59. Again, this thing's going away in like 2 days, the 13th. All right, let's look at our next play. So we've got on this larger ticket, the Chargers already in there with our inside information angle. We now look at Lamar Jackson, Mr. MVP. I would prefer Saquon, but I'm not going to argue. I don't care. It's not keeping me up at night. Lane Johnson didn't get all pro. Who gives a shit? Win a freaking Super Bowl. That's all I care about. Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't know what happens in this football game where the Baltimore Ravens are not in front. The Baltimore Ravens are not playing with a comfortable lead, or in somewhat, because it's the playoffs and you're playing a team for the 3rd time this year, more of an unlikely negative game script, how he's not throwing the football. And by the way, if it's Mark Andrews or if it's anybody else kind of filling that void, knowing that Zay Flowers banged up, it's not like they're going to stop throwing the football. And where do you have them as far as point totals? Probably in the high 20s, right? Probably looking at that as far as, well, this team should be putting up 24 to ceiling would be 31 points. That's fair. So that's our first play, over 1.5. Now, I think you can get a little freaky here. All right. Now, this is the ticket, and we're using a no sweat token on this. Again, if you're not on any of these books, you're going to get them across the board. Caesars. You could sign up for Rebet, a partner of ours as well down there. It doesn't matter. But I think you look at this Namde Madubuke and stat, I should say, to record a stat to record a sack, where you're going to get a pretty favorable number. I mean, when I built this thing in here, it was about just less than 2-1. Knowing, of course, that he is not the leader, but as an interior defensive lineman who is getting sacks on the year, there is going to be less focus on him than, let's say, looking at the Van Noy, for example, right? Or even Owe. So I think you've got this whole thing of where there's focus and how Madubuke is going to have one-on-one as far as what he'll have to beat on the offensive line for Pittsburgh. It's going to be a little shaky as is that coverage, plus 526 banger. All right. You can follow me on Twitter at ShanderBets. That's your first ticket, or pardon me, your last ticket. This is your first ticket. So plus 239, same game parlay, Chargers over 41.5. And then also we move to the late game, just the whole big ticket. We'll take the Chargers on the money line and add in Lamar Jackson over 1.5 and Madubuke to get a sack. I don't know why I can't separate the two, but that's because my focus has been solely on building these winners. See ya. That's 2 tickets for Saturday. All right. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe on the way out.